You ever have one of those moments where your entire life flips upside down in the blink of an eye? That's exactly what happened to me. And by the end of it, my wife would lose everything, and she never even saw it coming. It started with laughter. I walked into my house ready to surprise my wife Lauren with lunch, but instead, I heard her laughing. Not just her, a man's voice joined in. My stomach knotted instantly. Quietly, I stepped out of sight, listening. And that's when I heard the words that changed everything. "He's so clueless," Lauren giggled, swirling a glass of wine. "He'd never find out." Her affair partner laughed. "Yeah, it's honestly kind of sad. He probably thinks you're at work half the time." "Huh? Oh, please," she said, smirking. "He wouldn't even know what to do if he caught me. He's too soft, too trusting. That's what makes this so easy." I stood there, my heart pounding, my fists clenching, but I didn't step forward. I didn't make a sound. In that instant, I realized something. She thought I was clueless. She had no idea what was coming. I turned around and walked out without a word. I didn't confront her. I didn't fight. Instead, I called a private investigator over. The next week, I played my part perfectly. I smiled, kissed her goodbye, and responded to her sweet texts, all while she was probably in his bed. But behind the scenes, the PI was collecting everything I needed. Photos of them together, hotel receipts, screenshots of their messages, even a video of them kissing in public like they didn't have a care in the world. And Lauren, she still thought she was safe. Then came the day I'd been waiting for. She walked in, scrolling through her phone like nothing was wrong. I sat at the kitchen table with a thick manila folder in front of me. "Hey, babe," she said without looking up. "What's up?" "Sit down," I said. My voice must have tipped her off because she frowned, finally meeting my eyes. "What's going on?" she asked. I slid the folder across the table. "Open it." "Josh, I've had a long day. Open it." She did, and the moment she saw the first photo, the color drained from her face. Picture after picture, text after text, proof she couldn't deny. Her breathing turned shallow as the reality of her situation hit her, and that was only the beginning of what I had planned. By the next morning, everything she had was gone. Bank accounts frozen, credit cards canceled, divorce papers served, and my phone? It blew up with 27 missed calls, but I didn't answer, because the woman who thought I was too clueless to ever catch her had finally realized just how wrong she was. Her hands turned shaky as she clutched the folder, her wide eyes flicking, up to meet mine. Where did you get these?" I leaned back in my chair, keeping my voice steady, my face calm. "That doesn't matter." The room fell into a suffocating silence. Then she let out a dramatic sigh and placed the folder down slowly, as if it weighed 1,000 pounds. "Look, Josh, I was going to tell you," I almost laughed, but the bitterness in my throat held it back. "Oh yeah? When? Before or after your next hotel meetup?" She winced, but it passed quickly. Too quickly. In the blink of an eye, her face softened into practiced sadness, her voice dipping into manipulation. "Josh, I haven't been happy for a long time. Here we go. You're a great guy, but I need more. I think we should just end this like adults." Then she smiled as if she were being gracious, as if she weren't tearing my life apart. "I'm really glad you're handling this like a real man." And just like that, she thought she'd won. She thought I'd quietly sign the divorce papers, let her walk away unscathed. She had no idea what was coming. Lauren was a college lecturer, and she never let anyone forget it. She loved talking about how adored she was by her students, how they hung on her every word. She had a WhatsApp group chat with them, for assignments, updates, even personal advice. That's when the idea struck me. Step 1. Secure their numbers. Over the next few days, I moved carefully. I memorized the student numbers from her WhatsApp group. I even found her class attendance sheets just in case. Step 2. Create a separate WhatsApp group, an identical group chat, same name, same purpose. But this time, I was the admin. Step 3. Wait for the perfect moment. I didn't want to drop the evidence randomly. No, it had to hit when the impact would be greatest. So I waited. I waited until the day before court, when she still thought she had control. Lauren walked into the courthouse like she was untouchable. Gray blazer, minimal makeup, her confident professor look. To her, this was just a minor inconvenience. She thought I was the hurt husband looking for closure. She thought wrong. When the judge asked me to present my case, I slid a thick binder onto the desk. Lauren didn't even glance at it. Not until my lawyer opened it. The judge adjusted his glasses as he flipped through the pages. Photos of her meetups with her affair partner. Screenshots of their explicit messages. Financial records proving she had used our joint funds for their dates. I didn't just have evidence of infidelity. I had proof of marital fraud. Lauren's mask cracked. She shifted in her chair, her breath quickening, her eyes darting toward me for the first time with real fear. And that's when I smiled, because she finally realized it. She wasn't getting a dime. Mrs. Carter, the judge's voice cut through the room, cold and final. Given the overwhelming evidence of infidelity and misuse of joint funds, you are not entitled to alimony or assets from your spouse. Her mouth fell open. She blinked once, twice. Her lips moved soundlessly, but no words came out. Her lawyer whispered furiously in her ear, but Lauren wasn't listening. She couldn't. She was too busy watching the life she'd built on lies crumble around her, and she still didn't know the worst of it. The night before, I hadn't just prepared evidence for court. I had prepared something far more devastating. Lauren's students adored her. She played the role of the cool professor, giving advice, cracking jokes, building a fake reputation in their group chat. So, right before the court session started, I hit send. Screenshots of her affair texts, photos of her sneaking into hotels, a message explaining exactly who she was behind the mask. To make sure the fire spread fast, I even tipped off a few students to share the news across every campus, group, every chat, every message board. By the time Lauren walked out of that courthouse, pale and stunned, her world had already gone up in flames. She had walked in thinking she'd walk away clean. She walked out with nothing, and the nightmare waiting for her was only just beginning. Lauren arrived at her college like any other day, holding her head high, as if the court ruling had never happened. She probably thought she could slip back into her cool, composed professor role and pretend nothing had changed. But the moment her heels clicked against the campus pavement, she felt it, an unease that tightened around her throat. The students I'd tipped off were far more efficient than any private investigator. They fed me live updates, and the storm started subtly. A few whispers here and there, stifled giggles that grew louder as she passed. She checked her phone, her brow furrowing as the screen flooded with hundreds of WhatsApp notifications, more than she'd had in years. But these weren't students asking for advice, they were talking about her. The closer she got to her classroom, the heavier the weight on her chest grew. Eyes followed her. Phones pointed at her. Snickers turned into open laughter. And then she saw it, the first bulletin board. Her heart stopped. Papers covered every inch, screenshots of her most private texts plastered like a public gallery. Messages to her affair partner, laid bare for everyone to see. One student had drawn a giant red arrow pointing to a line that read, "Meet me at our usual place, baby." Her breath caught. Her feet wouldn't move. And then she saw the classroom door. Scrawled across it in thick black marker were the words, "Welcome, cheater." Her hands trembled as she reached for the doorknob, and when she finally pushed it open, the world collapsed. The entire room erupted in laughter. Students slapped their desks, tears streaming from their eyes. Phones were raised, capturing every second. And on the whiteboard, written in harsh red letters, "Class canceled, professor too busy cheating." Lauren staggered back. The walls closed in. This wasn't just humiliation. It was destruction. She turned to flee and crashed into a student, holding his phone inches from her face. He grinned. "Say hi to the camera, professor." More phones rose. More flashes. More laughter. She ran, through the hallways. past the bulletin boards and the whispering crowd. She ran until she reached the sanctuary of her car, slamming the door shut with shaking hands. And then her phone buzzed. One single message. From me. You thought I was clueless. Now you have nothing. Enjoy the life you built for yourself. She didn't reply, but I knew she read it. I knew she was sitting there in the suffocating silence of her car, understanding, too late, that this wasn't just the end of her career, it was the end of everything she had ever been.